Now we're going to set up the root user in MySQL. Users in MySQL are different than users in your operating system. You may log into your computer using a particular username and password, but MySQL requires a separate login for its purposes with a separate username and password. MySQL has a special super user called root that has privileges for all actions, including creating other users. This is a necessary starting point to set up a system. By default, the root user is installed without a password, so anyone with access to the system would be able to create and destroy users and data. If your installation is being set up on a private system on a private network only for the purpose of testing and debugging, this may be okay. But for a production system, you must correct this before proceeding. To make matters just a little more confusing, MySQL is often installed with more than one root user. The reason for this is also confusing. It has to do with how MySQL maintains its access privilege system, but the point is important. There are usually 2 root users, and there may be more, and you'll have to update all of them. So let's start up the command line MySQL client. Double-click on the shortcut that we created earlier, and type MySQL -u root. And what this does is it starts the MySQL command line client with the root user. And this allows you to change things like the user database. MySQL keeps all of its user credentials in a database called MySQL and a table called user. So we're going to use SQL to update the user table in the MySQL database and set the password in all the rows where the user is root. And so here's the SQL to do that. Update MySQL.user. That means the user table in the MySQL database. Set password. That's the password column in the user table in the MySQL database. Equals password. And this is the password function which encrypts a password for the purpose of storing it in this table. And we're going to put our password in quotes here, and I'm just going to call it foo.bar. It's a simple to remember temporary password for the purpose of this lesson. Please don't make your root password that. Come up with something unique for your installation, where user equals root. And that will update this table only for the rows where the user column is equal to root. So however many root users are in the system, and I happen to know that there are 2 here, when we enter a semicolon and press enter, we'll see that this affected 2 rows, and it changed 2 values in 2 rows. Now that we've updated the user table and inserted these passwords, we need to get MySQL to reread its database so that it can apply these changes to the system that's being used. And you do this with the special flush command, flush privileges. And what this does is it tells MySQL to reread these tables so that it will update the passwords in memory and be able to start using them right now. So I'll press enter and we'll exit and start up again. If I type MySQL-u root, you'll see that we can't get in because we're not using the password now. And so I put a -p at the end, and this tells it to ask for a password, and I'll type in the password, foo.bar, and there we are. So we've updated the password for the root users, and we've tested it, and we know that it works. And that's how we set up the root user in MySQL.